If someone ever pulled away and expected you to break, this story is for you. Subscribe to Revenge with DMA for powerful stories of quiet resilience, growth after heartbreak, and healing that doesn't need permission. Have you ever been told to give space, only to be punished for honoring that? Share your story below. My name's Marcus. I'm 30. I run a small creative agency, and for most of my adult life, I believe that when someone pulls away, you wait, you give, you prove, because that's what love means, right? Holding on even when it hurts. At least that's what I used to think until Sarah looked me in the eyes after 3 years together and said, with zero emotion, I need space. Don't contact me. Just let me be. She didn't cry, didn't flinch, didn't even look sad. She just packed a weekender bag, kissed my cheek like I was her coworker, and walked out. In no context, in no warning signs. We hadn't fought. In fact, just 3 days earlier, she'd sent me a playlist titled Or Forever. I stared at the door for a long time after it shut. Then I looked at my phone. My hand hovered over her contact, then dropped, and I typed one word, all right. She left on a Thursday. By Friday night, her Instagram story was live, rooftop bar, soft lighting, group photo, some guy in a leather jacket with his hand a little too close to her waist. I didn't react, didn't text, didn't spiral, because I'd been saving for something long before Sarah ever said goodbye, a solo vacation, my version of space, the one I kept delaying because she wasn't ready or had too much going on. Now I had nothing but space. So I booked the ticket, threw clothes in a carry-on, and left for Bali. Just me, my camera, and zero intentions to explain myself. The first night, I posted a photo of the ocean from my villa's infinity pool. The comments rolled in, living your best life. Didn't you just go through a breakup? Man disappears and reappears in paradise. Respect. I didn't write any captions, just shared the moments. But on the third night, I posted a picture of a dinner table set for one candlelight, grilled snapper, a folded linen napkin, and added this: sometimes the space they ask for becomes the peace you didn't know you needed. An hour later, Sarah texted me, looks like you're doing fine without me. I stared at the message, then locked the phone, because I'd finally realized healing isn't about making them regret leaving. It's about proving to yourself that you're still whole after they do. I spent the first 3 mornings in Bali the same way, barefoot on the terrace, drinking strong black coffee and letting the heat rise off the ocean like a slow exhale. No emails, no work calls, no thoughts of what she might be doing or who she might be doing it with. For the first time in years, I was nowhere except here, but silence, when you're used to noise, is strange at first. It echoes. It pulls old memories out of the corners, especially the ones you tried to explain away, like how she never really laughed at my jokes, just smiled politely, or how every time I made plans, she'd pause before saying yes, not because she was busy, but because she was waiting to see if something better came along. They say red flags don't look red when you're wearing rose-colored glasses, but space strips all that tint away, and by the 4th day, I was seeing everything clearly. I started talking to the locals, a surf instructor named Kadek, a painter named Wayan who sold hand-carved masks, and a woman named Leela who ran the cafe near my villa. Leela was about 60. Sharp eyes, no pretense. She asked me why I was traveling alone. I told her someone I loved asked for space. She smiled. You didn't chase? No, I said. Not this time, she nodded. Good. When someone walks away from warmth, let them feel the cold that stayed with me all day. By the end of the week, the photos were less about proving I was okay and more about capturing a truth. I was okay, not just faking it, not just posing. I went diving, took a cooking class, got sunburned on one shoulder and laughed about it. And then, on the 7th day, I posted a short video, a pan of the sunrise over the water, captioned, "The silence didn't break me." It introduced me to someone I'd forgotten me. That video did something unexpected. It went viral, hundreds of shares, thousands of likes. Not because it was flashy, but because it was honest. People commented. I felt this in my soul, needed this today, going through the same thing right now. Thank you. And in between all the messages, there was another one. Sarah, we really needed space, huh? She didn't ask how I was, didn't ask if I was healing, just hinted, like maybe she'd circled back, like maybe now I was interesting again. I didn't reply, not because I was angry, but because I didn't need to anymore. When I got back to the villa that night, there was a new message in my inbox. A podcast host wanted to interview me. She'd seen the video, said she liked how I articulated self-worth without bitterness. Asked if I'd be willing to speak to her audience, mostly people recovering from heartbreak, betrayal, confusion. I said yes. The interview went live 2 weeks later. We talked for an hour. I told the story, didn't name Sarah, didn't exaggerate, just said. She asked for space. I gave it, but I filled it with everything I forgot I loved about living. That quote got clipped and reposted everywhere. Overnight, my inbox filled with people sharing their own stories. The girlfriend who ghosted, the boyfriend who vanished, the marriage that slowly died in silence. But every story had something else too. The person who survived it. And that's when I realized what I thought was a breakup was actually a beginning. A month later, I opened a second Instagram account, not for branding, not for money, just a page called Found in the Silence. Daily posts, one sentence, sometimes a photo, sometimes just black text on white. Healing is what happens when you stop begging people to stay. Her silence wasn't cruel. It was a gift wrapped in sharpness. The closure came when I realized I hadn't lost anything. I'd just been borrowing someone who didn't want to be kept. That account hit 50,000 followers in 6 weeks. People didn't want noise. They wanted truth, quiet, grounded, earned, just like me. I saw Sarah again. By accident, a downtown cafe. A month after I got back from Bali, she was in line ahead of me. I almost didn't recognize her, not because she looked different, but because I did. She turned, saw me, eyes widened. Marcus? I nodded. Hey, you look good, thanks. She paused. You didn't call. You said not to. Her lips parted, closed again. She nodded slowly. I didn't think you'd actually listen. I know, a beat. Then she asked, so, are you seeing someone? I smiled. Yeah, I said. Myself. She laughed nervously. That's deep. It's honest. I didn't offer more. Didn't ask how she was. Didn't pretend we had something to catch up on. Because we didn't. She ordered her drink, left, and I stood there. Not bitter, not triumphant, just done. Peacefully. After that cafe encounter, I didn't hear from Sarah again. No text. No, just checking in. No cryptic memes about timing or fate. And for the first time in 3 years, I didn't wake up hoping my phone would light up with her name, because I wasn't looking for closure anymore. I was living in it, the kind that doesn't come from an apology, but from finally seeing that you are always enough. She just didn't know what to do with someone who didn't beg to stay. The page found. In the silence kept growing. People started calling it breakup therapy in one sentence. I didn't market it, didn't ask for followers, but the comments told me I'd struck something honest. This helped me walk away. I screenshotted this and cried in the car. Thank you. I read your words every morning before I speak. To my ex, the posts weren't revenge. They were reminders that leaving is brave, that silence isn't always passive, and that self-worth, once remembered, is hard to unlearn. I was just writing what I'd wished someone told me the moment she said, I need space. And somewhere between the messages and the quiet mornings, I became someone I actually liked being alone with. Then came the interview request from Heal and Rise, a mental health podcast with a huge following. I hesitated. I'd never seen myself as a public voice. I was the guy behind the lens, behind the quote. Not center stage, but the message was clear. You're saying what most people don't know how to say. And we need your voice. So I said yes. We recorded on a rainy Wednesday. The host, Karina, started soft, asked about the trip, the silence, the page. Then came the real question. When did you realize she wasn't coming back and that it was okay? I didn't answer right away. I thought of Bali, of Harold and the watch, of the morning I made coffee in a kitchen too quiet, and realized I didn't feel sad anymore. Then I said, when I stopped needing her to explain why she left, and when I realized the space she asked for was never about healing. It was about escaping the version of me she couldn't control, and I let her go, not because I was weak, but because I finally understood I was already whole. The episode went live 2 days later. It exploded. Comments, DMs, messages from people across the world, men who had never cried until they heard it, women who said, now I understand what I did to him, therapists who said, I'm sharing this with every client who thinks silence is romantic. My inbox overflowed and one message stood out. Hey, I know I don't deserve to say this now, but I listened to your interview and I finally heard you. It was from Sarah. I sat with that message for a long time, not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted to see how far I'd come. And the truth, I didn't feel anything. In a rush. No pain. No desire to respond. She'd said, I finally heard you, but I'd already stopped whispering her name in the dark months ago, and that was healing. A few weeks later, I got invited to speak at a retreat, men's mental health topic. When leaving isn't failing. There were about 30 people in the room, half of them fresh off breakups. Some cheated on, some ghosted, some still waiting for a text that would never come. I didn't stand on a stage, just sat in a chair, told them the truth. The moment someone tells you they need space, you have two choices: chase them or choose yourself. And choosing yourself won't feel like victory at first. It'll feel like sitting in a dark room, holding all the what-ifs in your hands like broken glass. But every day, you don't reach out. Every day, you breathe without asking for answers. That's a day you teach your heart it can survive. They were quiet. Then someone asked, what if they come back? I smiled. If they come back, they're meeting someone who doesn't live in that old space anymore. And that's all I had to say, because sometimes your job isn't to wait for the return. It's to build something so solid that the absence no longer defines the architecture. A month later, I went back to Bali, same villa, same view, but this time, I brought someone new. Her name's Celine. We met through a mutual friend who had found in the silence since day one. She's calm, kind, and when I told her the whole story, she didn't flinch. She just said, you're never trying to win. You're trying to live. That night, we watched the sunset from the infinity pool. No photos. No captions. Just peace. And for the first time, I didn't post a thing because I wasn't proving anymore. I was simply being. Bali felt different the second time, not because the ocean had changed or the sunsets were duller, but because I didn't feel the need to escape anything anymore. I wasn't grieving. I wasn't processing. I wasn't proving. I was just present. Celine, and I didn't try to fill every silence with conversation. We took walks without talking, laughed without trying, read side by side with our feet barely touching under the table. One morning, she looked at me, coffee in hand, and said, "I can tell you're not running anymore. You're just here." I smiled because she was right. The truth was, I had stopped looking back, and that kind of healing doesn't announce itself. It just arrives quiet, gentle, like breath you didn't realize you'd been holding for too long back home, found in the silence past 250,000 followers. I never tried to monetize it, never sold Merc H.no ads, just the words real, raw, still showing up daily. People started sending in their own lines. He left without a word, so I wrote one for myself. I didn't lose her, I just finally stopped chasing what she withheld. Every day I don't text her is another day I remember how to speak kindly to myself. I started compiling them into a book. Nothing flashy, just a printed volume called Still Here. It wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about reclamation, taking back your name, your worth, your time. Celine helped edit it. She would underline phrases and write little notes in the margins like, "Yes," or "This one." Made me tear up. I knew in those moments that love didn't have to be explosive to be extraordinary. It just had to be honest. Sarah did reach out again. It had been almost a year. I was on the train, headphones in, reading final proofs for Still Here, when her name popped up. A message request. Unopened. Unread. It sat there blinking. I waited until I got home to open it. "Hey, I saw your book's coming out. I read the preview. It's beautiful. I don't know if I'm in there, but I think I recognize the silence. I'm sorry for how I left, and for thinking that leaving you in silence would somehow make me feel stronger. You didn't deserve that. Congratulations, by the way. I hope you're happy." I sat with that message for a long time, not because it reopened anything, but because it didn't. I turned to Celine, who was reading on the couch beside me, and showed her the message. She read it, paused, then looked at me. "You okay?" I think this is the first time I read something from her and didn't feel anything break. She reached for my hand. That's because nothing's broken anymore. Still Here launched quietly. No book tour. No live streams. Just a link, a photo of the cover, and one line: "To the version of me who stayed too long, this is for you." Thousands of copies sold in the first month. People started sending me photos, the book on nightstands, on park benches, marked with highlighters, tears, dog-eared corners, and always one caption: "I thought I was alone. Thank you for helping me come home to myself." Celine and I moved in together last fall. Nothing rushed, just steady growth. No fireworks, just light that never flickered. One evening, while unpacking books, she pulled out a worn leather journal. "Yours?" she asked. I nodded. It was the one I'd started writing in the week Sarah left. The first page said, "Day 1 of silence. I don't know what to do with all this space." Celine smiled, then handed it back. "And now?" I turned to the last page. Months later. It read. I filled it, not with noise, but with me. That's all I ever needed. Not closure, not revenge, not answers. Just a reminder that when someone lets go of you, you don't fall, you land. And if you're lucky, you walk forward, one quiet step at a time, into something softer, something real, something still here. A year ago, she said, "I need space." Now I understand what she really meant. She needed a world without me in it, and I needed to stop making homes and people who only offered hallways. Back then, I thought silence meant I wasn't enough. Now, I know silence is a mirror, and in it, I saw what I had been ignoring for years, that I was shrinking to make someone else comfortable, that I was asking permission to be loved, that I was confusing peace with pleasing. Not anymore. Celine and I went back to Bali this spring, same villa, but this time it wasn't to rediscover myself. It was to celebrate who I had become. The trip wasn't about healing anymore. It was about wholeness. We hiked a volcano at dawn. We got lost in a night market. We wrote notes to our past selves and buried them in the sand. Mine said, "You're never abandoned. You're released." And in that release, you rose. The found in the silence page became more than just quotes. It grew into a full community, monthly virtual circles, writing prompts, men and women from different corners of the world showing up to say, "I was left too, and I'm still standing." I built a platform on the truth that love without clarity isn't love, it's emotional guesswork. And when someone tells you they need space, believe them, then give it to them so fully they realize you weren't holding on to them out of need. You were holding space for yourself because you're worth it. Sarah never wrote again. I think she understood. There are some people you don't chase, and some people who never deserved to be chased in the first place. I still remember her voice, but it doesn't echo anymore. That's the quiet miracle of growth. You still remember the pain, but you stop reliving it. Celine and I are engaged now, not because I needed to move on, but because she showed me what love looks like when no one's trying to win. No power games. No ultimatums. No I need space used as a threat. Just presence, choice, consistency. One night, over dinner, she asked, "Do you think you ever really healed from her?" I didn't hesitate. I didn't heal from her, I said. I healed from the parts of me that thought her leaving meant I was unlovable. She nodded, then said something I'll never forget. "You didn't lose anything when she left. You just stopped carrying what was never yours." And I exhaled, because she was right. So, if someone tells you they need space, let them have it. Not as punishment, not as revenge, but as release. Because the best thing you can ever do is stop chasing Pia Pluho. Walk away when your heart is still open. Let them go. Then choose yourself fully, unapologetically, beautifully. And one day, you'll wake up in a life that doesn't feel like waiting. You'll wake up beside someone who doesn't need to be chased because they never ran in the first place. You'll wake up whole, still here, still soft, still yours.